I'm excited to announce
an
entirely new AR platform with a revolutionary new product. Introducing Apple Vision Pro.
We'll talk about it, Phoenix. We'll talk about it later, dude. I talked about it this morning a little bit. Dude, first off,
hello and welcome to...
Listen, I know we got some ThrillSeeker fans here. You know, not many, but a few. And here's the thing. The title is Apple just beat the best VR headset in the world and did it cheaper. Now, I don't know about this, but like the price on this that I saw was like $3,500. Dude, that's not cheap. like I get it. like I don't know. I think that's what the price of this headset's going to be because I saw it on CNBC. And like to me, $3,500 is not cheap. This whole industry needs tons of competition to bring these prices down because these prices are ridiculous. Apple making so much margin off of this, it's going to be just redonk. So to say $3,500, I get the industry, I understand, but there needs to be a hell of a lot more competition in this industry to bring these prices down. These prices are ridiculous, man.
Tuesday News Day, your #1 resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. This has been
I understand the competition for what they're offering is twice the price. Like Ash is right, it's $7,000. But dude, $3,500. I like the direction it's going, but $3,500, Ash, for real, dude, is still too much money. I mean, for God's sake, who really has that kind of money for a VR headset? Like, there's like ThrillSeeker and people that are really passionate, super passionate, and are rich, basically. Because I'm not able to afford $3,500. I can't justify $3,500 purchase. This thing needs to be $200. I'm looking forward to the day, Ash, that this thing is $200. Noobifyer can. Well, Noobifyer's much more successful than I am. He has 70,000 subscribers. Get me to Noobifyer level, and I'll get there, Chrono. God damn it.
The biggest week of VR news,
Thank you.
I think,
Doug
in
agrees.
probably
Doug
7 years or so. Apple has finally announced and revealed its own vision of...
You know, back in my day, $3,500 was the price of my 84 T-Bird. My 3-liter 84 T-Bird. It was a stick, okay, with the little sunroof in it. It was black with red velvet interior. with leather steering wheel grip. With a leather stick bag and red velvety interior. It was $3,500, okay? I saved two years worth ahead of time. I saved for this car that was $3,500. $3,500 is just as expensive to me, ironically, 20 years later. Still unattainable.
Of what AR and VR should look like. Quite appropriately named the Apple Vision Pro. I've looked around and composited basically everything we know from the few dozen or so hands-on impressions and the keynote, and I think I've got a pretty good grasp of what this device is and what it's going to do. And I've got a very interesting, maybe hot take that I don't see many people talking about.
Chrono says he's going to send me some peanut butter jars so I can strap them on my face. You like my Jiffy goggles? Oh, it's like I'm actually looking through peanut butter jars.
Of course, this week held much more than just that. Meta officially revealed its own next headset. The Big Screen Beyond is also getting a pretty big hardware boost before its launch. Just buckle up, we've got so much to unpack. All I can really say is the times, they are a-changin'.
They sure are.
Let's just get right into the news. So let me just start off with what happened first this week. Meta held its gaming showcase, where they revealed a number of gaming-related titles coming to their platform within the next year. And while we did get some good stuff, general consensus consensus for the showcase was kind of mixed. We got a handful of games coming to Quest, from I Expect You to Die 3, to Underdogs, to Ghostbusters, a 7th guest game, Stranger Things, and even Stranger CGI-only trailer for an...
Isn't it so transparent what these big corps are doing with like these demonstrations, these showcases? They get the hot girl out there, they parade her out there, the girl absolutely knows nothing and she's reading from a card. It's the same old thing. All of us gamers, we watch this shit, we know what's going down, we know how it is. Let's just say it like it is. Like I'm so like tired of like the same old template. But she was pretty hot though. She was
an Attack on Titan VR game, Bulletstorm, and of course an Asgard's Wrath sequel that promises a 60-hour-long campaign, along with a title card reminding everyone that Assassin's Creed is still coming to VR eventually. And it's all pretty decent stuff, but notably, the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas game that was announced a few years ago is still absent. There's nothing on it. And while none of these games look bad, some of them even look pretty awesome, I think the overwhelming majority of reactions were somewhere in the ballpark of meh, mostly due to heavy exclusivity for some of the games and graphical downgrades for a game like Asgard's Wrath, which used to be a PC VR game, while its sequel is exclusively coming to standalone on Quest 2 and 3 with no other options. But arguably, the bigger announcement that was made during the showcase was the official reveal of the Quest 3, Meta's next VR headset, just days after all of its details were leaked by Bloomberg's Mark Gurman. And turns out he had all of the information right. The Quest 3 will be launching later this year at Meta's Connect for $499.
Dudes, listen.
Quest 3 will be launching later this year at Meta's Connect.
This is why Meta's gonna own it up. I hate it. They're centralized. I hate Zuckerberg, but this is why Meta's gonna own it. It's simple. It's price point. It's always price. It's the price, stupid. Keep it simple. It's always going to be the price. The people that are going to own this industry, that are going to own all the data, that are going to literally own our eyeballs. We're going to an evolution of what these corpos are going to own. They're literally going to own our eyeballs and our brain stems. They're going to literally suck the information directly from our eyeballs. And Meta has the recipe, unfortunately, because they know that they have to offer these things super fucking cheap to get it adopted. Adoption. If you're going to be a company that's going to own it up in this space, you got to make sure that you have as many eyeballs plugged into these things as you possibly can. And the only way that you're going to get eyeballs plugged into it is by making this price as cheap as fucking possible. Period.
For $499, featuring the upgraded chipset, which compared to the Quest 2 will provide double the GPU power.
Right, and Ash is saying exactly the type of strata of range of price point that I am at right now, which is budget basement quality. That's what I can afford. Can't even afford that, really. And most Americans also cannot afford it, so they put it on their credit card.
The headset itself is 40% slimmer, has a slightly higher resolution, and most notably has full...
Listen, truth, I can barely afford that. And that's the whole point, man. Americans are broke as a joke, man. Broke as a joke. We're living on credit.
Color pass-through with a depth sensor as well. And from people that have tried the Quest 3, they say that the pass-through is leaps and...
Budget isn't the best experience, absolutely, but it's all I can afford, Mad Style. Like I said.
Bounds ahead of anything that Meta has made before. One of the biggest changes, however, is actually the controllers.
And put us more in the
getting
hole
the awesome upgraded haptics that the Pro Controller have, dubbed the True Touch. And on these new controllers are no...
The English are having a hell of a time. The English are having a worse time than we are right now. Oh my God, the English. Oh my God, I feel bad for the English, man. The English are having such a difficult time right now. Their inflation just came down like below 10% for the first time in forever. Can you imagine paying 10% more for things? What we're doing, we're paying more than that, Pepe?
Tracking ring. Instead, using a mix of infrared light.
That's just what the government says it is. That number is higher than 10, by the way. Let me tell you that.
And a new AI tracking model that Meta has developed for it. The company stating that tracking will be just as good as all the previous methods while cutting down on bulk. But of course, we'll have to see it firsthand. And all of this also came with some huge news for current Quest 2 and Pro users. Not only is the price returning to $299 for the Quest 2, but Meta has found a way to increase the clock.
We're space, it says in South Africa, we only have electricity half of the time. Yeah, dude. The reason I know that is I watch this dude named Rand from South Africa, and he's got his channel called Crypto Banter. And he's in South Africa, and he says the same thing. He's got to get himself like a big generator in order to be able to stream all day. So, yeah, I know you guys are experiencing that. That would suck balls. That would seriously suck balls, man. I'm sorry about that. I am sorry about that, Warped.
Speeds for both headsets in an update that'll come in the future. The Quest 2 and Pro are...
Wow, this is an interactive stream today. I know people get upset when I do this, but I love when I'm seeing here live. Futz says they'll keep printing money and printing money and printing money as long as the American people don't realize what's going on. It's a giant Ponzi scheme. The fiat is all Ponzi. It's all Ponzi. People don't realize what's going on. They'll put us down into the deepest, darkest hole possible because they're politicians, right? Absolutely. And then when we finally do catch on, at least the majority of us still raise their hand and be like, I don't know what happened. It's okay. We're okay. Sleepy Joe, get it. Oh, you're making it political now, Futz. We'll get on the TV and be like, there's nothing to worry about, folks. Everything's fine. It's not just Sleepy Joe. It's every politician. Let's just be real here. Can we all just unite and stop being such a fucking divided country and looking at this thing right and left? Can we just stop it? Like, I understand. Here's the thing. We're just fighting and being divided about right and left, man. All politicians are the same politician for the most part. Both sides, they're just lobbying to get the votes, man. They just want to stay in office. They're going to promise anything and everything to people that have the money, and they're going to make good on those promises, and those promises do not reflect what the Americans want, and that's the way the game is run. This game needs to change. The rules need to change, man. The rules need to change.
Receiving a 26% CPU performance boost and a 19% GPU boost.
It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's broke versus rich.
While the Pro gets an 11% GPU
everything
boost.
else
so
is just the
both
gift
headsets
wrapping.
are getting slightly better for free, which is awesome. And to be real, they're probably going to need it because right now the Quest 2 and 3 are going to live together for a while, sold alongside each other.
This whole thing, I see this all the time, man. People on the left fighting people on the right, or people on the right fighting the left. And I'm not being mean to you, Futz. This is just making me think. You know how I am, Futz. I'm going on tangents, bro. I love Futz. Here's the thing. Us fighting left and right is exactly what they want. They want us divided. They want us like our eye off the ball. It's the way that the world's been working for a long time, but more so now. The polarity is just ridiculous off the charts right now. We literally have to unite together. We have to go old school flower power 60s. We have to stop this evil regime of rich, because it's rich versus broke. And the thing is yeah, there's a section of the population that's poor that, yes, they stay poor and they're given money. And why would they have incentive to work when they're just given money over and over again, right? And when you're taking from people that are producing and you're taxing them more, it doesn't give them any more incentive to make anything, right? Not everybody that has a lot of money is evil. Some of those people actually worked to get there. You know what I mean? You know, but there's a huge amount of people at the top range that are elitists that want to stay rich at whatever cost, be damned those under them. And those are the people I'm talking about when I say rich. Those are the ones you got to worry about. Those are the ones that run the world. And those are the ones that you should be against. Fuck the right and the left. Fuck Republicans and Democrats. Let's be people here and realize what the fuck is going on. This is a greed issue. This is a greed issue. Everything else is gift wrapping.
For the foreseeable future, likely running the same software, operating systems, etc. Just one is going to be $300, while the newest iteration is $500. And my prediction is that this will probably be the case for a while, but exclusives will eventually come to the Quest 3, maybe even some of them announced at Connect in September, and the Quest 2 will eventually be phased out. Probably in the same fashion the Quest 1 was. Still, the Quest 2 has a long life ahead of it, at least 2 years, I think, but we at least know exactly what's coming from Meta later this year. Whew. Okay, so that was the blast of the whole Meta showcase. Now we can talk about the big thing. It finally happened. After years of covering this thing, Apple has finally announced its headset.
What does this do,
first,
Thrill?
I'm going to talk about the basic specifications so we can compare it apples to apples with everything we know. But then I want to get into what this thing really is and my thoughts on it. Because most people are missing something here, and it's not something that's obvious.
We'll bring it back up,
especially the way Apple marketed this thing. So here goes. This is the Apple Vision Pro, one of the highest resolution headsets ever announced with 23 million pixels across 2 displays that end up being somewhere around a 3840 by 3000 per eye resolution, which is much higher than just about anything else we've seen. Pushed by 2 micro OLED displays displays through a pair of pancake-style lenses. The headset has eye tracking, which automatically adjusts the interpupillary distance, so no need for a slider, face tracking, 6 microphones, 12 cameras, and 5 sensors consisting of LiDAR and depth sensors. In terms of compute power, the Vision Pro has an onboard Apple Silicon M2 for basic processing, and a new Reality 1 or R1 chip that is likely being used to process all of the camera and sensory information. In terms of field of view, we don't have exact numbers, but from compiling everyone's reactions after trying it, we're looking at somewhere between a 95 to 100 degree field of view, which is basically industry standard. Now, that's the base comparison, where you can slot in any existing headset and see where things stack up. And simply hardware-wise, the Vision Pro is industry-leading in every...
AR's it. AR is it. AR is the new step. AR, people are going to be able to go augmented reality very easy. Augmented reality introduction into the headset is a very smart move. The AR features are going to be used primarily for headsets, and that's the break-in. That's what people are starting to realize. You hear metaverse, you turn off. You know, you start to go for these hype words, you turn off. You go to AR, you start making the headset have a utilitarian use, and now you've got people buying headsets.
Segment besides field of view perhaps, but that honestly doesn't do us any good when looking at this headset, because there are a few huge departures from conventional headset design that we gotta get into. Now, of course, the most obvious thing is the front display on the headset. Aside from being a very memeable feature, it allows for a reverse pass-through so people can see you in a headset while you're wearing the headset. But to me, right now, that's kind of a fluff feature. Like, it's definitely a conversation piece, and I think it's really cool, but it doesn't affect the user's experience outside of people's perception of you using it, which, by the way, is a much bigger deal to VR than it may seem, but we'll talk about that later. I'm not going to focus too heavily on it besides throwing in some jokes every now and then, because the biggest departure from standard design is, one, this thing is only semi-wireless. It may be entirely standalone, but you either have to plug it into a power source or use an external battery bank allotting only 2 hours of battery life. And I don't see this as being a massive deal, but 2 hours barely...
Okay, they're continually... Stunner's comment made me realize like how the industry is continually making these things smaller. You notice how the back strap has gotten like wider for, I don't know if that's better or worse, but it seems like the wider the back strap is, the more comfortable it is. So that's interesting. And then the goggles, the headset need to actually be as minimal as possible. That's why I like the Beyond. That's why I like the Beyond headset. Plus they have that custom piece, that rubber molding you got to send in, and it comes fitted exactly to your face.
Really makes it through a movie, which was 80% of the marketing. So the other thing is that this headset has no controllers at all. It is 100% eye tracking and hand tracking / gesture control. Now, there's two sides of this coin. On one side, universally from everyone that has tried this headset, even from VR-focused journalists, say that this is the best user interface experience they have ever experienced using a headset. Some even say it is quote-unquote magical. You look with your eyes where you want to interact and just pinch. Or you look at, say, a search bar and just start speaking and it just takes your input. And that sounds awesome.
Dudes, this is exactly where I need this shit to go. I want this shit to go Star Trek stat.
But on the other hand, the past decade of VR development has been all...
What did I always say? I always said you don't need the goddamn controllers. You do not need the fucking hand controllers, man.
Controller based, which means nothing. Not a single thing.
It's a piece of hardware that doesn't even need to be there. Like, there's got to be a way in order to, like, you know, even in gaming, to look at the fingers, to do actions with finger and hand movements. You know, like this is where we're going. The freaking controllers can just be thrown in the garbage.
Out of the gate is compatible here out of the past decade of VR development. And this was a statement, and we'll loop back on that. There is yet another statement by Apple, the price. The Vision Pro, I'm sure you've seen it already, costs a whopping $3,500. For that, you could buy 3 Quest Pros and a Quest 3 or 10 Quest 2s, but that's kind of a silly comparison. You only got one head. Basically, the Vision Pro is very expensive, as we all expected. But now that the specifications are out of the way, I can talk about my takes on this. The Vision Pro is not a Quest 2.
Yes, it will be. For the short term, for right now, Limitless, the next few years, 4 years, I'll say 4 years. I'll say 5, maybe. You're right, Limitless. Like, for now, the speed at which you can move your hands and your fingers are an issue. But, like, eventually they won't be.
or Pro competitor. It is not an Index or Big Screen Beyond competitor. Instead, it's two things. One, of course, is it's an entirely new category.
You're right, Ash. You're right.
I mean, yes, it is a VR headset that has AR functionality, but Apple purposely didn't say virtual reality a single time during WWDC. It is something different. But here is the most important part and my biggest takeaway from the entire event. You want to know where this headset really competes, because believe it or not, 3,500.
I love that Damon's already using this this piece of technology sexually. It's great to see Damon staying real, man.
$30 for a headset is actually an incredible value, actually a steal, relatively, of course, and for a specific kind of person, especially when you look at the only headset in the world that can possibly come close to competing specs and capability-wise with the Vision Pro. The headset can possibly come kind of person.
Here's the thing with the headset.
Especially when you look at the only...
Here's this. I mean, I can see eventually not needing any monitors or LCD screens at all. I think that what we're seeing here is the birth of the death. The birth of the death, Pepe. That's a good one, isn't it? What we're seeing is the death. The death of the monitor, the death of the screen, the death of the television. This is what we're seeing, because the headset will be able to do it. Now, here's the impediment. Here's the obstacle. The roadblock is how long can you wear the headset, right? That's why these headsets need to be as low profile, as comfortable, as if it's not even on your face as possible. And I don't know. I don't know. Has there been any reviews on people's how comfortable this thing is to wear, how long they can wear it? Because as soon as the headset is light enough and comfortable enough to wear and not be like huge on your face, that's when people are going to use it for displays, and you will not need any monitor anymore. You will not need any hardware anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Only headset in the world that can possibly come close to competing specs and capability-wise with the Vision Pro. The headset that is pretty unanimously known as the best headset in the world. What I'm getting to is that the Vision Pro isn't even in the leagues of quests and indexes.
Exactly,
Instead,
Damon.
it's a direct...
And that's right. Damon says nobody really wants to wear ski goggles to watch movies. Let's all be real. Right. The second they make something that isn't huge like this, and the Apple thing even looks kind of too big. They're making it low profile, but the second this motherfucker is literally non-existent on your head and it's absolutely like air, is the second that people are going to say, okay, now I can say I'm going to wear this fucking thing all the time.
Vario XR3 competitor at half the price. The XR3 being a mixed reality, primarily hand-tracked, eye-tracked, LiDAR-powered, super high-resolution headset. Sound familiar to the Reality Pro? Used across the industry, high and low, mostly because it's the only one in its category, yet it costs double the price of the Vision Pro at $7,000 plus a subscription.
I'm a futurist.
This is where I think the Vision Pro stands. It is, right now, not a gaming headset, only being capable first party-wise of playing flat-screen mobile games and watching movies, although the memory volumetric capture feature is incredibly cool. It's a huge selling point, and it's one of the highest praised features, actually, even though it is incredibly Black Mirror. And instead, Apple is focusing really hard on getting the absolute basics down.
I mean, I had the game down 6 years ago. I just want to say, like, I am a futurist. You can go to the channel here, and this is actually a message up top here. This is a message from myself from the future wearing a futuristic headset. And I talk to you from the future, and it's really an interesting video. That was done 6 years ago, man. 6 years ago. I remember when I went back into the past.
They're just getting flat in VR first. Then they let developers build spatial.
What's up, Gator?
And I really think we didn't see anything VR here because Apple is not a VR software developer. Maybe they will be in 6 years after a string of acquisitions, but right now they are an operating system and hardware company at heart. And this headset is providing the basis of something to be built on. And I want to end this segment with two big things to think on. One, think of the Vision Pro in the lens of the original iPhone. The iPhone launched without an app store. It was pretty basic and pretty controversial at the time. And it wasn't until third-party developers building apps that smartphones turned into what they are today.
David knows all the equations.
Two, this headset is a very Gen 1 or maybe even Gen 0 device. Apple didn't target Quest 2 users or Quest Pro users. They instead targeted the best headset in the world, and then they did it cheaper. This device...
Okay, I get what Ash is saying. This goes back to Ash's statement that this headset is half the price of the leading kind of headset. So I like the direction that this is going, but by no stretch of the imagination can I even come close to affording this.
This is not intended for any sort of general audience in the same way that an XR3 isn't. If you want to play Beat Saber, I would never use an XR3. That's a ridiculous idea. But if I'm designing a car for Lamborghini or trying to edit a video in VR, the Quest 2 is borderline unusable. To me,
editing videos in VR, get out. I would love that.
Apple made a statement. They launched a ridiculously priced headset, not for the masses, but instead targeted towards a demographic that already knows they're going to develop for and use this headset. They knew they were going to use it before the announcement, and that's because it allows them to do things that previously were only possible on something like an XR3 plus a beefy computer. And this is Apple's flag. They said, this is the lowest quality they'll go, this is the benchmark, and this is how much it costs right now. And now, it's up to developers to make things. It's up to engineers and creatives to use those things and to see where they can get use out of this. And it's up to Apple to eventually get slimmer, smaller, lighter, and more powerful, and most importantly, cheaper over time. And I think it's funny, when I said 2 years ago while reviewing the XR3 that eventually this technology that's so amazing would trickle down into something more affordable, I never predicted in 1,000 years that it would be Apple that is the biggest trickler of that. And to everyone that's watching the VR industry, the best part about this is that this headset doesn't change anything about the existing VR market. Congratulations, Meta. You are now the gaming king of virtual reality. Apple doesn't even want a part of it right now. And congrats to all future Quest 3 and Pro owners and Quest 4 owners, whatever. You have a device that will do 85, maybe 90% of what the Vision Pro does at a fraction of the price. And you should be proud of that. On top of that, I guarantee you the Quest 4 and whatever headsets come later are going to be better because this is a benchmark. Everyone will always be compared against this headset, which means we're gonna get a lot of pro-consumer moves. What I'm trying to say is that all MR, AR, VR headsets that are out now are just as functional as they've always been. But what this really means is the XR industry just got the biggest competition they've ever gotten, which is an industry pusher, and it's with a headset that doesn't even compete with them. This headset for this industry is a great thing. Just still, for the sake of the next decade of progress, I sincerely hope this is a success and not a flop story. This either...
It's gonna be somewhat successful because Apple is a cult, man, and Apple has a lot of users, and people who are Apple cultists will buy it just because they like Apple.
That's mainstream adoption back by a decade,
but it's not gonna catch on because of the price point. Let's be real. Meta's got the game down. Thrill is right. Thrill has got a good fucking read on this. He's absolutely right. This kid knows what he's talking about. He's got high IQ.
Moves it forward by a decade. It's really all up to developers, both on Meta's side, PC VR side, and of course, the Apple side, about the price, just like it has always been. Okay, so we got one more thing. The Big Screen Beyond, pretty much the headset I've been using as my daily driver, or more properly said, testing as my daily driver since it's not released yet, has a pretty big hardware update announcement. Now, this device is definitely different than anything else out there. It's the smallest headset ever made, custom made for your face, Steam VR tracked, micro OLED displays with 2.5K per eye, and it's releasing later this year. But one of the biggest drawbacks to this headset when I reviewed it sort of at the time was the lower field of view because of its size. It previously was around Quest 2 FOV range, around 94 degrees or so. And well, just before launch, Big Screen announced a 10 or so degree FOV bump with better lens clarity and less glare, coming to all future headsets that will be shipped. I've actually been testing this newest prototype and it's awesome. I got around 103 degree field of view in my own tests, and it's just made me fall in love with this headset even more. So love to see it. All right, well, that was a gigantic, massive week of VR news. Kind of crazy. I'm curious curious though, what are your takes on the Showcase, the Vision Pro, all of it? Do you agree with me, or do you have an entirely different opinion? Look, I read all of the comments and I learned so much from all of you. So in addition to helping this video, I'm not gonna lie, comments, yes, of course, help the video, but the discussion is invaluable to me. Your comments allow me to really see what people are thinking and make better videos. And right now, it's just a wild time to be in the AR and VR industry. I think things are looking pretty positive, but you know, that's just my opinion. There's lots of ways this Apple reveal could have gone bad, and I think we're in a pretty good timeline. We got a good outcome. Of course, I wanted to thank all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omega.
Yeah, I dig ThrillSeeker. He's an actual journalist who does the work and he does the research, and he actually is on all this hardware and trying it all out. So keep it up, Thrill. I always love your content, bro, and we appreciate you watching and getting valuable feedback from our algorithms, man. So what we do here at DG360, we find great things and we just talk all over it.